What's up, guys? Lore here with another round of Heart of the Swarm Replay Roulette. That's right, there's another random match from drop.sc. I have no idea what to expect out of these players whatsoever. Let's find out together. Down here in the southeast corner, as the Red Terran, we have Alba. Perhaps Jessica Alba. In fact, I did not realize that she was a StarCraft player, but there you go. Down here in the southeast corner here on Star Station. And in the southwest corner, as the Blue Zerg, we have Fulmicotone. I'm actually kind of expecting, since he was just saying he was Zerg, I'm actually kind of expecting that perhaps he's one of those really weird, awkwardly nice random players who just says what race they ended up as. Although now that I think about it, I think it actually says what race you are at the screen. So I don't know, maybe he just felt like announcing it to the world. By the way, I'm Zerg, prepare for infestors. Now, man, I guess let's take a look at this map, I guess. So it's been a little while since I've actually cast a game on Star Station. We do have now these unbuildable plates over here at the base of the ramp heading down into the natural, so that's important to note that there cannot be any sort of wall-ins that can occur with that. It's mostly something to deter against Protoss and putting like 3 pylons right at the base, but there is some shenanigans that could be done with Zerg. Nowadays, especially since they have in fact altered the spine crawlers to actually take up the entire space that they sit in. They take up an entire hex, which does not allow anything to get past them, which can be very, very important in Protoss vs Zerg, and in fact in Protoss vs Terran as well. But in fact, we are going to get a scout in over here from Alba. Going to check things out a little bit. Almost thought about leaving, but decided to come back over and check and see what's going on over here. Nothing just yet, because Fulmicotone is in fact going hatchery first. No gas just yet. Is now dropping down the spawning pool. Where did that SCV wander off to? There it is. Just could not see it on the screen for some reason. So he did actually manage to spot that spawning pool going down. Otherwise knows there isn't too much in terms of craziness happening over there. We do have a command center morphing into that orbital command over here for Alba, as well as the barracks is now up, and a marine is out to deter any scouting. And in fact, did he see... It looks like he did manage to get in far enough to check and see if there were any gases, so that's good. Very nice scouting from both players. Just checking to make sure there isn't anything sneaky going on from their opponent. Just now the gas going down for Fulmicotone. That actually looks to be kind of a late gas. Usually you want to time them to be finishing it around the same time. But it looks like a little bit behind on that gas, and he's actually floating several minerals, so it may be possible that he's going for another expansion here soon. We'll have to look and see what ends up happening. Nope, there he goes. He's spending them down, getting a couple of queens out, and adding on more drones. Meanwhile, we do have an expansion coming up for Alba over here as he continues to produce marines as well. No expansion onto this barracks just yet, so nothing too crazy. However, we do have a double refinery up and running, and 3 workers in both of those, so I'm going to expect to see a factory relatively soon here. I feel like he would have added on a tech lab already if that's what he was going to do. Yep, and there goes the factory now in production for Mr. or perhaps Mrs. Alba. I suppose I should not be so sexist. There are in fact some very, very good female pro gamers. For example, Scarlet has been doing exceptionally well lately. But anyway, let's look at these guys. A little bit of marine aggression coming out over here. There's no SCV coming with this, so I'm not expecting a bunker. He's just sort of poking around a little bit, and ooh, there is that fast third coming out of Fulmicotone. Will Alba wander up over there and see it? No, looks like he's going to head straight towards this expansion over here and may be able to do a little bit of damage. There are a couple of Zerglings now popping out. Does manage to pop one of those off immediately. Gets down a drone, and now sending over that queen to try and do some damage. Going to lose another Zergling and manages to back off without losing any of his marines. They are obviously wounded, but if he happens to go for a medevac or something, he will be able to heal those guys up no problem. This is interesting. Actually, looks like he might be going for, after that marine aggression, might be going for a little bit of Hellion aggression as he drops that factory down on that reactor. We'll see if he queues up a couple of Hellions here in a moment. He's now building a tech lab off of this barracks and a starport over here. So with the starport positioning there, I'm gonna tentatively expect that we'll see the starport end up on that tech lab and just using the barracks to build it in the meantime, and we may be seeing some Banshees very soon. And holy crap, that is a lot of stuff queued up out of this factory. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not. That's a lot of stuff being queued up there. It's resources that he cannot otherwise use. But he is going to get out a bunch of Hellions. He's actually managed to supply block himself is going to get out a bunch of Hellions as well as some Widow Mines here very soon. I'm going to expect to see that starport over there on that tech lab very, very soon. We do have Evo Chamber on the way, as well as a couple of Spine Crawlers to block off the front. I don't believe Alba knows about this expansion up here just yet. So Fulmicotone should feel relatively safe. However, he is getting out a Roach Warren, which that feels a bit... I'm not sure how I feel about that Roach Warren exactly. It could help him defend against the Hellion aggression a little bit better, but otherwise it's just going to sort of set him back a little bit. You can use Speed Zerglings to defend against Hellions just as well, and yes, here we've got Cloak as well as 2 Banshees on the way for Alba. You can use Zerglings with Speed instead of a Roach Warren to defend against these Hellions. You just do need the Speed upgrade, which it does look like he has. He just doesn't have enough Zerglings to actually defend against it. So with these Hellions coming in here, oh, he's going to come over there and he spots this extra expansion. That's terrible news for Fulmicotone. He's going to lose a lot of drones here. That one Queen is going to eventually be able to chase these guys off, but not without losing a ton in the meantime. Look at this. Hellions just don't even care. They're just going to roast as much as they can. Oh, that hurts. That hurts so much. And this one does still manage to escape with his No! Bit of a pathing error there. Should have just kept going that way. But he did manage to take off that other Hellion. But that is 9 workers killed now for Alba. I don't know if any of those came up earlier in the match or not, but that still hurts quite a bit to lose that many workers. In fact, if we check the units tab, that now puts him at 40. He's still adding on drones. 47 drones. Has a bunch of larvae sitting around too. So he does still have the economic lead. But I'm not really sure where that puts him overall in terms of this. Ooh, now the Banshee is on the way, but I did just see somewhere, I think I saw it. I thought I saw an Overseer being morphed. I may have made that up. May not be an Overseer here at all. Oh, there it is down here. He has managed to spot... Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so bit of a blunder here from Alba. He sent that first Banshee out just to come down and sit over here, and he happened to fly it past an Overlord. So what Fulmicotone was able to do was actually spot it with that Overlord and morph into an Overseer and then say, alright, you know what, I'm just going to hug this Banshee because I don't know if you've got Cloak or not, but it doesn't matter too much. The Overseer doesn't cost me too much, and I'm going to want one anyway for detection at some point. So he's just going to sit that right on top of that Banshee and say, you're not going to sneak in there at all, sir. And fortunately for him, he did actually end up going for Cloak. He did complete the Cloak research, which means that actually hurts quite a bit for Alba. That's never something. You need to be able to do damage, like significant damage, if you're going for Banshees with Cloak like that, because it is a fairly significant investment. These Hellions are going to poke up around over here a little bit more. Not too much they can actually do at this point. I feel like this is now fairly well defended. They are going to try and sneak in the back here and maybe able to roast a couple of drones. Ooh, and in fact, there are fewer roaches here than I thought there were. He's going to be able to roast these drones quite a bit. Could have probably taken out a couple more there, but that's still a lot of damage being dealt. And he just barely isn't... Like, once again, with 2 health, this Hellion escapes. This time he actually does escape instead of just dying. I'm going to check this again. Yeah, up to 13 workers now killed for Alba, so lots of damage being done. Now, he's going to try and come over here. For some reason, he's got his Cloak activated, even though he sees the Overseer and he sees the Spore Crawler over there. There is a Spore Crawler up over here, too. So this Banshee is not going to be able to do anything, really. There's not much at all that it can do, especially with Queens at every single one of these expansions. Now, there is no detection up over here, so he may be able to, unless he can get his Overseer to move up over there into position. I don't feel like... Oh, he can just barely see him. So he just needs to move that Queen over there. Yeah, that's a little bit of extra damage being dealt that didn't need to be done. I'm going to check this again real quick. Wow, he actually managed to kill off 5 more workers with that. That's a bit messy out of Fulmicotone. That should not have happened. However, he does now have a significant supply lead, and he's getting out these Swarm Hosts as well. I don't know why he's spawning the Broodlings. I guess it was just on autocast. But he does now have a bunch of Swarm Hosts up. Looks like 5 of them, excuse me, 6 of them total now up. Oh, and a bunch more down here. Let's just check the units tab to see what he's up to. 11 Swarm Hosts now out for Fulmicotone. And I haven't honestly seen how Swarm Hosts are doing lately. It feels like most Zergs are just, they've kind of been falling back on the old, you know, Infestor Broodlord style of play. So it's going to be really interesting to see how well these can actually work out for Fulmicotone. Meanwhile, let's check in on Alba over here. He is still constructing Hellions. He does have a couple of siege tanks up, but oh, there now, just now, siege tank is actually completed. Excuse me, siege tech is actually completed. He's adding on a bunch of those. He's got quite a few factories out, in fact, and now he's actually producing another one, or will be very shortly, and getting these double upgrades going on his armory over here. Wow, he's actually increasing. He's actually going for seeker missiles, so that could be a really, really interesting thing to see. We'll have to see if he's actually able to. Oh, and this sucks for Fulmicotone. He has nothing that can shoot up out over here, so this Banshee is just sort of roasting away at these things. And he's going to lose a bunch of these swarm hosts just for no reason at all. He needs to... I don't believe the Locusts can actually shoot up. They do have a ranged attack, but it's not very long range. So I don't think they can actually shoot up, and he's going to lose this whole army to this just couple of Banshees over here, because he just doesn't have anything that can attack air. He needs to get something out that can shoot up. If it's Hydralisks, if it's Corruptors, if it's even Mutalisks, something that can kill off these Banshees, or else he's just gonna... He could even send a couple of Queens with it, honestly. Otherwise, these Banshees are just going to continue to chase this along and keep picking off the Swarm Hosts. He knows that he does not want to deal with those Swarm Hosts at all, and he's now managed to pick off the vast majority of them. There's only one Swarm Host now remaining for Fulmicotone, so that sucks quite a bit for Mr. Micotone, as these Banshees just sort of continue to float around over here. They've been surprisingly effective. We've got 3 kills on that Banshee, 5 kills on that one, 5 kills on that Banshee. They've been surprisingly effective, all things considered, just because... There we go now, Infester's out for Fulmicotone, so he will be able to kill off those Banshees. He needed to have those before. In fact, he's got a couple of Corruptors mixed in there as well. Needed to have all those in there before. Whoops, I may have just rewound for a second. Alright, so we're going to do this again. There we go. Infester's out now. I should be a little bit more careful about randomly bumping buttons on my mouse. Apologies for that. But yeah, with those Corruptors in there, with those Infestors, this army of Swarm Hosts, which he does now have a full 7 of them up again, and I believe he's got 4 more in production. That will help quite a bit. I'm really curious to see how these Seeker missiles end up working out for Alba, though. What he's actually planning on doing with those, because I haven't really seen Seeker missiles in a while. That's something that kind of... It just wasn't really ever used much in Wings of Liberty, and I'm not really sure that much has changed about them in Heart of the Swarm, so really curious to see how that ends up working out. Looks like he's moving up over here. He is sieging up, well, burrowing with the... I don't know why he's sending those over there. He's sort of sending a little bit of a miscontrol here with his broodlings, actually accidentally sending them in to just sit with his army instead of sending them over to attack. But he will now be able to spawn a bunch of those in a moment, and we'll be able to see what sort of damage he can do with those. Here they come. They actually take quite a bit of punishment from these siege tanks, but there is several siege tanks up over here, so this is not nearly enough to be able to damage that army from Alba. Not nearly enough siege tanks up over here. And now we do have this Raven up over here. It might get caught by these Corruptors, and it does manage to get picked off. Raven does fall. No real damage dealt to either player just yet, though. And oh, here we go. Alba's going to move in over here. He decides he's going to come up and attack. A little bit iffy of an attack there with the siege tanks in the back. They are still able to defend against this quite well. Oh, and this front siege tank actually starting to take a little bit of damage from this, but Fulmicotone realizes that this is just not working. He's going to pull back a little bit and try again. Okay, so that was a strange little movement he took there, excuse me. But now with these couple of Thors in here, as well as that Banshee and the Hellions in there doing a little bit of extra damage, it seems like this is just a whole lot of constant pressure that doesn't really do much coming out of Alba over here. In fact, I'm not really sure why, or excuse me, coming out of Fulmicotone, I'm not really sure why Alba feels the need to push out into that, because all he's doing is just taking a little bit of extra damage. This siege tank is a little bit too far forward. It's going to take some damage and possibly fall here. Most likely will with this next wave of Locusts. But this wad of siege tanks in the back is able to take those out no problem before they're able to get up over here. So, not really sure why Alba felt the need to push out there. In fact, it seems as though he's realized this. He does not need to push into this at all. The siege tanks and the Thors and everything is just sort of making a very, very noisy front doorstep. Just a lot of constant shooting for no real reason going on over here. So, while that continues to happen, let's check and see what else is going on over here. Is either player really doing anything? Over here we've got more Ravens on the way from Alba, as well as a bunch of upgrades, and he's adding on a couple more Thors as well. And over here from Fulmicotone, he has now gotten his 4th base. In fact, there's a 4th and looks like a 5th base on the way for Alba as well. So both players just continuing to work on their economy behind this silly sort of anti-siege I guess you can call this a contain. And that's interesting. Well, Battle Hellions coming out. They're just going to take a bunch of damage for no reason. I'm not sure why Alba feels the need to push into this. Again, he's perfectly fine where he is with the siege tanks sort of forcing that, and that Infestor kind of getting shoved out of the way there. However, he may have finally gotten enough of the swarm hosts over here that he feels the need he has to push out and defend against them. It may be to the point that the siege tanks are just not enough, so he is going to push in over here, coming in with those Hellions and running away with those Hellions and Thors. I really don't know exactly what his plan is here. He is trying to get up a planetary fortress over here, which is an interesting choice to try and stop this. Not sure how effective that's going to be. Meanwhile, now, wow, up to 6 bases for Alba. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Not mining out of 3 of them, but whatever. He does have those bases up now. As these guys continue to move out over here with these locusts, trying to do as much damage as he can. Does actually manage to do a little bit of damage there, so he's going to push in now, getting the scan down to try and spot the swarm host, coming in with the ravens as well, but there's too much here. There's too much in the way of infestors, especially dropping down some pungles, locking those guys into place, allowing the locusts to do extra damage. So Alba once again is going to have to fall back. As behind this now, Fulmicotone is just expanding like crazy, getting more and more and more expansions up. This is a very silly contain. I feel like this is working a lot more than it should. Ooh, nice. He does actually send off a couple of Seeker missiles, which do damage burrowed units, so he was almost able to kill those with another round of those Seeker missiles, which he should have the energy for those in a little while. He's got almost enough energy for one more Seeker missile. But that's an interesting tactic there, just using the Seeker missile to kill the bunched up swarm hosts. As more and more and more locusts continue to bang in at the front here. Meanwhile, we've got a little bit of a roach run around over here from Fulmicotone, taking out this base, and he will be able to do quite a bit of damage with this if he so chooses. He manages to kill that base. Looks like Alba not quite focused on what's going on over here, and now with these broodlords out, this could get messy for Alba. He doesn't quite realize what's happening and did not. He could have lifted that command center. That would have saved it, but he did not. So seems like this front contain over here is actually kind of working for Fulmicotone. If nothing else, it's causing quite a bit of distraction as he continues to move around the map and clean up all of these bases that Alba was trying to get up and running. And there we go. Now we do have the lift from Alba. Stopping that, he's going to lose all those SCVs, obviously, but is not able to do much other damage. Otherwise, this front contain here, this curiously effective front contain. Looks like now with these 3 ravens out, he's going to send in a few more of these Seeker missiles. There we go. 2 more Seeker missiles coming out. Only managed to kill off 1 or 2 of those swarm hosts, though. You even didn't manage to kill that one. Had 4 health left. And just didn't have quite enough energy on this this final raven here to be able to send out a 3rd hunter Seeker missile, which would have killed off at least 3 more of those. So that's a bit unfortunate. I almost think that, all things considered, a couple of auto turrets in there may be even more effective than that. But meanwhile, moving up over here, these roaches have managed to take out this planetary fortress, which did have a whole bunch of mules at it as well. Now the roaches are going to get cleaned up by this army, and we're going to put a stop to that. But behind all of this contain and this aggression, we now have a ton of bases up for Fulmicotone. He's not even making full use of them just yet. But this one here is looking fairly well saturated. It could use a few more drones. But just this constant aggression is sort of forcing Alba to sit back and go, what do I do? How do I stop this? And I kind of feel like the answer is you don't need to. Honestly, with these siege tanks over here, they're still managing to kill off the vast majority of these these locusts before they can get into range. So I kind of feel like he doesn't really need to be worrying about this as much as he is. He keeps sending out his units over here, and now he's sending out a bunch of Thors trying to take out these broodlords, but he doesn't have the Viking support or anything to be able to take those out. And all he's going to do is lose all of his Thors. So that could easily mean an indicator for Fulmicotone to turn around and push in over here. Now there are some Vikings in the back here, but this wave of Corruptors that just showed up for Fulmicotone should be able to pull those or push those guys back, no problem. As the swarm hosts burrow up here and continue to head forward, I think that front one is actually in range of some sort of detector here somewhere. It might be this this missile turret over here, but now the locusts are starting to break into the front line. They're starting to deal damage to these tanks. It doesn't even matter if the tanks clean them up. they're just going to spawn more free locusts here in just a second that are going to continue to come in here and do damage. It looks like the Corruptors have pretty much been cleaned up by these Vikings. Has not been able to completely take those apart, but it doesn't matter too much at this point. He can lose those remaining blue lords and doesn't mean too much. However, there are some stealth banshees over here, very nice, taking out those infestors, and now they're going to be able to just sit over here and start working on these swarm hosts. So that could be enough. Oh, he's going to turn around for some reason. I don't know why he decided to leave there. Maybe he sensed these Corruptors were coming, or maybe he spotted them somewhere. I don't know. But now these remaining swarm hosts are just going to be able to do damage for basically free. They're just going to keep sending out these free locusts. I believe he does have the enduring locust ability upgraded, which allows them to live longer as well, which means he's going to be able to send them a long distance and just continue to deal free damage. It doesn't matter if they die at all. This is kind of a funny picture up over here. This command center really wants to land, but it can't because there is a hatchery there. And wow, that's... I know there's still fighting going on over here, but this is something I wanted to point out. This is kind of cool. A new effect in Heart of the Swarm. This refinery actually has creep on it. That's kind of cool. Let's check out and see what's going on over here. It looks like the rest of this army has pretty much been cleaned up from Alba. It's pretty much gone now. He's now down half of the supply of Fulmicotone, and there we go. That's it. GG. Alba has left the game. I really feel like this front siege, even though it looked really scary, and though it was very noisy, obviously, with constant explosions and everything going on from the siege tanks as the locusts were moving in, I felt like when he was sitting back here, he had more than enough in terms of siege tanks to be able to not even worry about that. He was killing off the locusts before they got in range to do any damage, which meant that, yeah, sure, the siege tanks were firing a lot, but there wasn't really any damage being dealt by Fulmicotone. I really feel like if he had said, okay, I feel safe right now, I'm not really in any immediate danger, I can get up, maybe a bunch of Marines would have been a good idea, or get out more Banshees or something. I really feel like at that point he should have been working on something that he could then loop around up over this way, come in behind, and take out the remainder of those swarm hosts right after they spawned in a bunch of locusts or something. I felt like that would have been a much stronger play than the weird thing he had going on with the Hunter-Seeker missiles. Like I said earlier, we really haven't seen much of those in Wings of Liberty or in Heart of the Swarm. It seems like something that just still isn't super useful in the late game for how long it takes to actually get them out. Anyway, I will wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Laura, and I will see you in the next match.